Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Northern Showcase. We look forward to spending the next hour with you. I'm Penny Olorenshaw, a former stage manager, now a Webflow developer in Trenton, Ontario, and I handle communications for No Code North.
And I'm Jeremy LaRue, a Webflow low-code developer from Vancouver. On the No Code North team, I'm the resident automations guy and runner of the streams.
Hey, I'm Maggie Monso. I'm a Webflow developer based in Toronto with a background in film and television. And on No Code North Group, I take care of our designs and our gather space.
Our mission at No Code North is twofold. First, to build a community of Canadian Webflowers and no-code enthusiasts, and second, to showcase Canadian talent to the world. We meet Fridays at noon Eastern in the Lodge, our gather space, and once a month we host the Northern Showcase here on our YouTube channel.
Hey, let's check out to see who's in the audience today. I see, hi Dale, welcome, thanks for joining us. For everyone, if you have any questions for our guests, please put them in the chat and we'll either ask them during the interview or at the end.
As a quick pre-interview note, next week we're going to be introducing our new workshop formats. Workshops are open to everyone. They'll be taking place in the Lodge, and they'll also be live streamed to YouTube at the same time. Our first workshop will be a MAST demo, the MAST framework, led by Corey Moen. So make sure to follow us to get the details for this upcoming event.
On today's Northern Showcase, we're interviewing Andre Ford, founder of June Plum Creative, a website design, branding, and e-commerce company based in Toronto, Ontario. With over a decade of experience as a web designer, developer, and 3 years as a Webflow professional partner, Andre helps medium to large businesses worldwide streamline their development process to deliver high-quality, efficient products. Please help us welcome Andre.
Hi, Andre.
Hey, Andre.
Hi.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. And thank you again for inviting me to the showcase.
Yeah, no problem. You're one of those people from our community that we've mainly met in real life, and so it's kind of interesting to do one online.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah.
But yeah, you've been at pretty much all of those in real life things that we've done. The conferences, the meetups. You've been to almost all of them.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, I mean, I'm actually glad that I found you guys because it's really kind of helped me to broaden my network in terms of people in my community that actually are into the no code space. So I actually really was happy to meet Penny at one of the events, and then she kind of introduced me to the organization. So I actually really appreciated that.
Excellent. Yeah, and we've had a great time getting to know you and the work that you do, and see you at the events we've had over the year. That's terrific. Good.
So, yeah. Anything else before we dive in?
Oh, I think let's just get down to it. I want to know more about
get
Andre.
into it. Yeah, exactly.
All right. So, straight into it. So, how did you start getting into building websites? I think I know a little bit. I read a story that was kind of cute.
Yeah. Well, it's in terms of starting or where I started, it's just there on my website, I have a blog that I kind of describe how, from I was very young, my parents kind of introduced me to computers and I was kind of very interested in it and wanted to know more about it and figure things out. And from that point, I just started kind of trying to find out more and more about it. And once I and that was actually when I used to live in Jamaica, actually. But once I came into Canada and I, was connected to a lot of different outlets that had more kind of information and more places to kind of be able to build my skills, I kind of got a little bit better and just kind of started exploring different ways of finding out more. But yeah, it's in general, it's like I was into tech. I got a job where they were like, you know what you're doing. You look like you know what you're doing. And they said, you should pursue this passion of tech. And I decided to go to college and kind of delve into programming and kind of find out more about it.
Yeah, I had this reading the blog. That's where I got a little bit of info. I'm just picturing you as one of those kids that in their basement coding. But although the computer was probably not in the basement, it's probably accessible to the whole family. But I thought it was cute. Could you tell us just a little bit about your studio's name and the story behind it?
Yeah, it's actually tied back to growing up in Jamaica as well. Uh, like as I said, that's where my passion started in terms of finding out about technology. And when my parents bought me a computer, I wanted to kind of, as I said, find out more about it. And since that was where everything kind of started, I wanted to tie the company name back to where everything sort of started, which was growing up in Jamaica and trying to and finding and connecting to that passion of computers and trying to find out to learn more about it. So June plum is actually a fruit that's grown in the West Indies, and it's like a tart fruit. It's sort of sour, and it has like a prickly inside. But yeah, that's it. That's it. So I wanted to kind of have that connection to something of my childhood and just kind of tie my company to that. And when I was trying to think of names, so for some reason that came to me, and I was like, okay, that's gonna be it. It's a good thing to just tie back to my childhood and also kind of give a connection to just to the community and just just to make it something that's connected to me, right?
Yeah, that's awesome. I feel like in that blog post you had a line about how Apple had a fruit as their logo, and you're like, yeah, let's do that.
like when you're young, right? And
Yeah.
just coming up, like you're thinking, okay, well, and I think there's a lot of people that are so kind of blown away by what Apple has done in terms of tech and the actual products they make. And I was one of those people as well, just kind of like in awe of the stuff they're doing and just cool technology that they create on a daily
Mm.
basis. And so I was like, okay, let me see, maybe, they're a fruit. but I also wanted to, I was like, okay, so there's nothing wrong with naming your company after a fruit, but I still wanted to have that connection that makes it
Yeah.
uniquely me and the connected
I feel like there's more depth to the way that you chose yours. Although I don't know the full story behind the Apple. I gotta say, maybe everyone knows it. So you've completed a computer programmer analyst program at Centennial College and an e-commerce program at Toronto Metro University, formerly Ryerson. What attracted you to the no-code world? Because you've been big on code before that.
Yeah, as we talked about earlier, I was into more programmer at Centennial College. It was like more programmer analyst type of program that I was in. So it was really heavy duty code and all these different languages and such. But once I started working like full time, I started leaning towards more of like front end code and building like interfaces and web interfaces. So I was more into that type of aspect of web development rather than back end coding. And so as I progressed, I progressed mostly towards like design and front end design and UX and layouts. And so once kind of I got introduced to the no code space, I was like, okay, well, I can kind of make these things, and not really have to focus on the back end as much in terms of trying to build out these complex back ends. I could just kind of build things and the back end part would be easier to configure on my own, without building these super complex backend systems. So that's what really drew me over to the no code space. Was like I know how to do the front end stuff. I know how to do stuff, and in terms of the back end, I knew how to do it, but I wasn't like really focused on that when I was in full-time work in terms of building front back ends. So, but I knew how they all worked and how they were all connected. So I wanted to just be able to build out the front end and kind of understand the back end enough to build it out and make it work how I wanted it to work. And that's kind of what the no code space gave me, that ability to kind of do it and kind of do it really quickly.
Yeah, and the front end is more. It's more fun too.
Yeah, in general, yeah.
I know.
That's where the magic happens, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Is there anything that you miss from the real code world?
I think I miss from the real code world. Real code world. Um, the only thing, you know, there are not too many drawbacks to kind of using the no code tools and such. But the only thing, if I would say there was sort of some drawback, and not all the platforms are like this, is being able to truly kind of be fully custom, you know, in terms of, you know, because when I used to build out front ends, you'd have to build them out like by hand, like HTML and everything spaced to the pixel and so forth. But with the no code space, it's usually more of a you know, sort of like a more drag and drop type of like kind of working with interfaces rather than actually building out code. So you do have some drawbacks in terms of what you can do, because you're limited to what the system gives you the ability to do, rather than building it out like with hand and making it exactly how you want it to do. But you know, like systems like Webflow are pretty good. That's why I would draw to like places like Webflow, because they're actually pretty precise in what they do in terms of building layouts, and you don't really have to really worry about trying to build it by hand and build it by code anymore. So that's the only thing, is that, you know, trying to make these precise front end systems, you know, without having to override, you know, system code too much or things like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I find it so like so customizable though, the front end with Webflow. I feel like you can do some very, very granular thing, very complex things.
No, yeah. I mean, I mean, I feel personally that they're one of the best right now in terms of being able to kind of build out like a front end system and making it like kind of more pixel perfect.
Yeah.
I haven't really seen a system that gives you the ease of use and the ability to kind of build it out with that ease with in terms of a short timeline as well. You
Yeah.
know, I don't really see anything that can compare to that.
Yeah. Did you ever use any of the other one, Framer and
Yeah, Framer, you have you know, of course you have like Squarespace and Wix and WordPress and all these. So I've actually built sites on all these before, but and so that's where I have that kind of the ability to kind of gauge which one was easier to use versus not easier. I haven't used Framer much. I've played with it a bit, but in terms of the other ones that I mentioned, yeah, like Webflow kind of takes, you know, the prize in terms of being able to kind of do really custom, really kind of unique interfaces.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm a convert. I love it. So, all right. So switching a bit the subject here. It's there's something interesting about you. Is it's not your first time starting a company. So similarly to freelancing, being an entrepreneur is not always a linear process. And so what important lessons did you learn the first time on the first company you created that you've applied to June Plum Creative?
Yeah, so the first time that I got involved in kind of freelancing for web was, you know, I was like fresh out of like college, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to build a company and do all these amazing things. Excuse me. So I was going to do all these amazing things and you know, started, and you know, to my surprise, I actually got people that were interested in wanting to build websites, because really at that time, you know, you know, the web was really starting to mature, and more people were like, okay, we have to get websites and do that type of thing. And so I was getting a lot of customers actually to come in and say, oh yeah, they want websites and they wanted to do things, a lot of technical things. But as I progressed, you know, I realized that, you know, I wasn't managing my time well, you know, in terms of taking projects. I was taking projects, and then I found myself like working through the night trying to finish them and taking on other projects. And, you know, it just started to kind of be, you know, overwhelming at some points. And so there are times when everything would be so overwhelming that, I'm working all the time just trying to get these projects completed. And then there would be the other times when nothing is happening at all, and you're not really getting all the projects that you need to kind of keep moving. And I realized that, the times when I'm like working too much and doing too much, I wasn't managing the projects well, in terms of, setting priorities, as to, what's supposed to go first, and the timelines as to when things should be done, and giving myself enough room to do the projects properly, and in a reasonable time. So that was one of the issues, just not managing things well. And the other part of it, in terms of not getting clients when things were kind of dull or dead, was I wasn't marketing enough. I wasn't going out there, meeting people, connecting with people, trying to make sure that, once things keep moving. So that was the other piece of it, was just not really getting out there, connecting enough, and just trying to make sure that things keep moving.
Not doing enough outreach in between.
Yeah, exactly.
For a lot of freelancers, that's the hard part. They like building, they like designing, but the outreach, it's another job they don't really want to touch, but we have to. And I find also, like, when you start freelancing, it's such a, like, you have to take on that many projects because you don't charge a lot because you can't yet, and you do, like, everyone ends up working so many hours and burning themselves out a little bit. But if you can get past that first phase of freelancing where you can finally increase your rates, then you're in a better space after that.
Definitely.
Was it called the same, or was it the same company name, or?
Oh, no, it was different. Back then it was like Fresh Scene E-Marketing Solutions. I don't know where these names come from, but yeah, Fresh Scene E-Marketing. So different name.
I like the new one. The new one's nice.
Yeah, it's just easy and short.
It's more recognizable, I think. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then I don't know if it's jumping in time too much, but then between 2017 and 2018, you earned a couple of certificates in project management. So I just wanted to know what drove you to get those certificates, and how you applied those skills to your current projects.
Yeah, so that was part of going into like project management and trying to figure that out, was due to being in the situation before my first freelancing situation where I couldn't manage the projects right. I was burnt out. I couldn't, working all the time just trying to get the projects done. And so after that, things kind of weren't working well for the company at the time, or my freelancing at the time. So I actually decided to go back into full time at a development agency, right, a design agency. And so I was working with them for a while, and I was thinking back, if I ever go into freelancing again, I want to make sure that I have the necessary skills to kind of manage things and kind of keep things going, as if I ever was to do it again. Because that time I wasn't really thinking, oh yeah, I'm going to get back into freelancing. But I was like, okay, there's some skills that I want to have. And so when I started working, I was like, okay, let me see if I can get into project management. And so one of my companies, I kind of pushed to go into project management, and it worked out. I was doing the project management for a while, and part of that was to do a few project management courses, to kind of make sure that I have the necessary skills and understanding of methodologies and things like that to kind of succeed. So yeah, so I made sure to get all that, get those certificates, and I was doing that for, I think, about 2 to 3 years or something like that. Yeah, I was working project management for 2 to 3 years. So yeah, and then after that, that's when I got back into freelancing. After that situation ended, I went back to freelancing, and kind of now things are kind of working how I wanted it to work back then. In terms of setting boundaries, setting priorities, making sure that everyone knows the timelines, in terms of what's going to happen when, and and how it's going to get done, and when deliverables are expected. Of course, all the project managers really mostly just kind of setting expectations. Of course, things can go awry, and you have to kind of make do, but you still at least have a template or a big picture of how you want these things to go, and everyone is on the same page in terms of that, and the priorities and the deliverables and when things are supposed to go. So it's not any surprise, as the projects progress. So I think right now it's in a definitely better space in terms of in terms of managing my kind of energy levels, and just how much kind of easier and things flow better when things are kind of managed a little bit more,
Yeah.
a little more focused on
Yeah.
management.
I'm finding just managing expectations from the start is one of the main things that's made my freelance life so much easier. And just like bring all the red flags right at the start and be like, this will happen, let's not do that. Do you really want that? Because it's not going to do what you think it's going to do. And then like once that's all been aerated, then I start the project. And
Yeah.
then we're good. And if any of those don't get solved at the start, then I might not take the project.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, definitely. You gotta kind of, bring up any kind of issues that could prevent the success of the project. All that stuff has to kind of be cleared up from right at the front. And it just helps everyone in the end, right? Because if you as the one that they're relying on as a technical person, as the one that's supposed to be guiding them through this experience, if you're not bringing up all these issues that could potentially kind of derail the project or make things kind of not work or something like that, they might feel that you're not doing the kind of the job that they're expecting. So being proactive with that stuff is kind of, it's absolutely necessary, just to kind of make sure things flow well, and just in terms of having a successful project, right?
Yeah. Okay, before we continue, I just have to make a quick sideline because I feel like it's the first time we have someone from Mexico City because we're up north and it's really cold right now, and we're very jealous of your location. So.
Yes, Mexico. Well, I'd love to be Mexico right now.
But yeah, so back to project management here. I was just looking a little bit at the description on your LinkedIn of all of that, and there's some things that I was going to ask you about because it says you're also managing project teams effectively and ethically. Do you actually get on a project and have to not just do design and development, but also start talking about the client's team and manage that as well, or the way that they manage the project, or what was that part of the description about exactly?
Okay. So you in terms of how I manage projects now, or
Well,
I'm trying to,
like I saw it said on the description, you also manage project teams effectively and ethically, or is it more like your own team if you're collaborating with other people on that specific project?
Well, in the past, in my project management role, I'd manage like in terms of how the team structures would be. You'd manage devs, you'd manage designers, copywriters, all different teams of people, right? And so it's what the project, whatever project it is, it encompass like all these different things. If it's like a major web release of sorts, that encompasses like UX, UI design, copywriting, back end dev, front end dev. You're managing that whole project. So in terms of managing all these different teams and different different types of different disciplines in terms of the UX, the UI, you'd have to do all of them. You'd have to make sure that all of them are on track, all of them are on top, understand what the project scope is, understand the deliverables, the timelines, and to make sure that everybody's on the same page. So I believe that's the question you're asking. If not,
No, yeah, you know what?
it's
I'm
pretty
just
clear.
realizing that actually applied to when you're full time and probably not as much as a freelancer.
Yeah, I mean, right now as a freelancer, it's less. I mean, the projects are not. I wouldn't say they're as complex right now because, um, uh, usually when I'm managing teams, it's more of subcontractors. So I do work with a lot of subcontractors right now in terms of this. It's the same type of thing, really, in terms of working with. I'd probably work with a development subcontractor. I have copywriting subcontractor, and sometimes design contractor, depends on how things go. And it's the same type of structure in terms of managing these kind of full blown kind of web projects. Sometimes, you need copywriters, you need designers, you need UX, all the same thing, right? And so I think being able to like moving those same experiences and that same kind of process over from when I was full time into now when I'm a freelance, it's easy to kind of understand what everyone's supposed to be doing, when they're supposed to be doing, managing them, making sure everything gets done on time, and kind of work with teams in that way, right?
Yeah, you're you're really touching on everything and end up having to collaborate all of those different disciplines. And I actually have a question that's a little bit touching on that, since you're doing all these different things, including branding and web design. So Dale was just asking, how much of your work is branding driven versus website driven, since you offer both?
Oh yeah, I would say everything is brand driven, because the way I look at it is that when somebody comes to your website, it's not really just you trying to just give information about what you do and sell products and things like that. Everything is really based on brand, and so you have to approach the web projects as such in terms of when you want people to come to websites, you want them to have a certain experience when they come there. So you have to look at the website from an experience perspective rather than just I'm going to design something for the text is here and whatever, instead of just randomly putting things in certain places. You want it to be based on very specific to what the client is actually selling. So you have to really do some research into how are people selling this product, how are they why are customers motivated to purchase this type of product. And you have to kind of tie all those things into the design in terms of figuring out color schemes, in terms of figuring out how things are laid out or what information is shown on the home page versus how people navigate through the site. So you want to make sure that everything is kind of more brand driven, so that it's more of an experience rather than just kind of coming there and not really connecting it to what's happening in the space on the product.
Yeah, hopefully Dale, that answered your question. And but yeah, it's impressive. I know I've personally made the decision to do pretty much development only because I am not able to do what you're doing and do that. Yeah.
No, the thing is,
of going through all these different.
Yeah, the thing is, one of the things is when I was actually kind of building out, when I learned how to build interfaces back in the day, I was like, I always actually wanted to design my own interfaces.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to figure them out and kind of design them, and because back in the day, like we worked for a company that it's a development studio or something like that. You had the designers, and you had the devs, and the front end developers, back end developers, and the front end developers, and the devs would just take the design and just kind of put it together and piece together. But I always wanted to kind of create that design and create that experience so that I can actually do it all by myself, at one point. So I was like, okay, I have to kind of figure out all these design tools. And I kind of made it just my own personal projects to figure out the design tools. So, I worked with friends on just kind of understanding Photoshop and then understanding and building layouts in Photoshop when Photoshop was a thing to build the layouts in, and now then Illustrator, and then now we have Figma and XD and these types of things. So yeah, so I just wanted to do it. I wanted to be able to do the whole thing, and so that I kind of focused on making sure that I could do it.
Yeah. I have a couple more questions about project management. One, we actually talked about it a lot with our previous guest, but what's your favorite project management tool?
Well, I've tried a lot of them just because I'm like into wanting to make sure they work the way I want them to work. But I tried Asana, I tried Monday. I mean, they work good, and Microsoft Project Online. They all kind of work. They're project management tools. They do what you need them to do, and kind of you can put the project information, resources and timelines and see them in different kind of views, which is good. But for some reason, I wanted to be able to enter things differently and just kind of have more control. So what I use now is actually a tool called Gantt Pro, which seems to do what I needed to do and kind of be able to enter information the way I need to enter it. And also it has a lot of neat functions. I can share the project plan with my clients. They can see the whole thing. They can see it in Gantt view. They can see it in whatever view they want to look at it, and then it works pretty good for me. So that's the one I'm actually using right now.
This one? There you go.
Yeah.
Thanks. That's the one you would recommend. I guess it's everyone's different though. It's kind of hard.
Everyone's different. You got to really kind of play around with them a little bit to see how they work for you, and it makes you're able to enter information how you want to enter it and make the connections and but yeah, for some reason I was just drawn to kind of Gantt Pro and how they work. So that's the one I've been using lately.
So there's one interesting project that you were talking about in your blog, which was that LMS one, but using Webflow. So we really wanted to talk to you about that and your experience creating that and that choice that you've made to do it all in Webflow without a third party for
managing the elements content. I had the project. Someone came to me with a project, and they had kind of e-commerce pieces, and they had the LMS portion of it as well. And I was kind of researching the different LMS tools. Some of them like Teachable, Thinkific, and some different ones. I was looking at them, and in general, they work great in terms of what they do. If somebody, if you don't have a website and, you just want a standalone LMS kind of solution, it's perfect. You just kind of build it out and it works great, and you can do all those things. But especially for people that if you already do have a Webflow website and you kind of want to build out some sort of LMS solution, you can integrate like Teachable or those things or whatever into the Webflow website, but again, you're paying two different fixed fees continuously as you go along, and if you don't have the budget for that, or you want to kind of just keep things simplified, you might want to just opt to just kind of keep everything on Webflow. And I think, as I said, especially for people if they're already on Webflow, it's great to just extend Webflow, with the tools that Webflow already gives us. So they have the accounts feature, so you can actually create a system in Webflow that if you have the kind of e-commerce plan, you can create a system in Webflow that someone can sign up pay for a course, and then you can build the course system in the back end that kind of house all the course information, like videos and PDFs and everything, similar to a Teachable, but you have to kind of build out that structure, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, but it's doable, and you build it out, and just like those others, they can sign up, they can pay, and they can go through the course system. Of course, there are some drawbacks to the Webflow system in terms of like Teachable and Thinkific, and these ones that have been around for a while, and they do have a lot of bells and whistles and features that adds to their experience a little bit. Where in the Webflow kind of experience, you might not get those things. But
Yeah.
in terms of just a standard kind of straightforward learning system that you could go through a series of videos or PDFs or anything like that, it works great. And
Yeah.
of course, it will keep the cost down in terms of having to have a second system that you're paying for on a continuous basis. So I built that up for the client, and they seem to be happy with how it's been working so far. And there's no real issues there.
Yeah. And so there's two parts of it. There was the e-commerce part, which you've done in Webflow, and then the subscription part. Did you use MemberStack, or did you use
No, it's the built-in accounts feature
Really?
in
Okay.
Webflow.
That's
Yeah, I
amazing.
didn't use. I mean, of course, if you use MemberStack or something like that, of course you'll get the personalized type of
Yeah.
experience where you can pull personalized information from MemberStack. But
Yeah.
you don't get that with accounts. You won't get any kind of personalized information once a person logs in. But of course, they can log in. They can pay for the service, and they can go through the information, just as if they were going through some sort of
Yeah.
Thinkific or Teachable system.
Would you recommend doing that for people that are looking to build that are finding themselves with the same use case, or?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I think it works great for if you already have a Webflow website,
Yeah.
because then
Yeah.
you already know the experience there, and then
Yeah.
updating things in the back end, you're familiar with that experience.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things. If your budget is not enough to kind of want to go towards a Teachable or a second option like that, then I think it's a great option. And yeah, I definitely recommend just go for that option to just just if you wanted to keep things simple, keep things all in one place, on one platform. I think it could work great for some people, but you have to kind of weigh the positives and the negatives there. But yeah, I think it would work.
Yeah, I thought it was a really interesting use case. I feel like maybe that's not the approach that everyone would take, but it's kind of cool that you did that one all in Webflow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like I asked you before, but if there was any other really interesting use case of something complex like this that you might have done in Webflow, or is the rest more regular branding and web design?
Yeah, I mean, I've done some other sort of complex kind of implementations. That's more with JetBoost.
Okay.
Yeah, I've done some JetBoost implementations in terms of making more complex queries. Because with Webflow, you can't. It's not a true database kind of system in terms of being able to do queries, multiple queries. Like you query the database for like a certain listing, but you can't query it again to do a pop-up to show subsets of that listing or something like that.
Mhm.
So, but with JetBoost, you can do more complex queries like that. In terms of, it's not the most ideal scenario because what it does is it really pulls all the information onto the page, and then it can show the subsets of the different type of queries. But it works.
Yeah.
It works, and so yeah, so done more complex stuff with like
But like, what
JetBoost.
was the use case for that one?
It was really, the scenario was just, they had they it's sort of like an internal kind of, it was more of an internal site where they had a lot of different listings of it's more like a training site, and they had a
Right.
listing of information, and they wanted to show different versions of like 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 interfaces, so different screen widths, how it would look on different screen widths, what's the kind of code that would associate with each
Mm.
screen width, and so they'll give you all these different variations. But it was really complex to kind of just handle with just Webflow alone, in terms of doing all these different variations and showing all these different variations. So I had to kind of use JetBoost to filter everything out, and then be able to show, okay, this is what it looks like on desktop, this is what it looks like on mobile, this is what it's going to look like, so it was more of a training scenario, but they wanted to show all these different variations and different and history links to historic information based on the selection, and yeah, it was a more complex kind of listing system.
Yeah. It's the cool thing about Webflow is it's like, it's such a solid base, and then you can really push it. Like, you can, with
Yeah.
low code or these little tools that are in that Webflow environment, you can really push the limits of
Yeah, that's the other thing that I actually like about it, is that, you know if you do want to get complex with the database, you can get third party items,
Mm.
things in, like, like FinSuite or something like that, to do more kind of filtering and the things like that, to make it more dynamic, right? So I do like that, even though they try to kind of build it more that it's user friendly, but you can still try to extend it a little bit more, to get a little bit more complex, in terms of building out complex database type systems, or things like that.
Yeah. Okay, so it's there's no good transition, but I think we're going to talk a little bit about maybe you now, and my first question is, I feel like a lot of freelancers go through a burnout at some point, and that was the thing that ended your first company. So I was wondering if you could talk to us a little bit about your burnout.
Yeah. No, I think I kind of mentioned it a little bit before, in terms of this, not managing projects well, and and just kept on taking new projects on, and just kept going, like working 24/7 all through night, not setting boundaries in terms of people contacting you all the time, whenever they wanted, night, evening, weekends, and you're working on weekends, you're working all the time, and yeah, and so after a while, you get to the point where you're like, you don't even want to do it. You don't even want to do it
Yeah.
anymore. And I think that's the thing with the burnout. You get to those points where you're like, the thing that you actually find fun and enjoyable, in terms of, like, because I do enjoy kind of building websites and building out things, and working on these more complex things, but you get to the point where you're like, oh, I don't even want to do it anymore, because you're just constantly going, and you don't want to get to those points where you just don't want to do it anymore. And that was one of the things that was like, okay, well, I have to be able to manage my time and my energy a little bit better, and make sure that I am able to do things at a high level for my clients, in terms of, when they contact me and want to actually do a project, I need to be able to be at my best energy levels, and
Mm.
be able to do things, and can't be working all the time, and setting those boundaries of knowing when to cut off, and not working like all weekends all the time, things like that. Will
Yeah.
it be able to keep your energy level up, so that you're able to show up for the clients a little bit better, and do what needs to be done to get a successful project, right? And so I think I'm better at that now of just kind of managing my time and doing the things that kind of feed my energy back, and rather than just always just working and then just burning out and
Yeah.
get to the point where you don't like it anymore, right? So yeah, but definitely, yeah, just had to figure that out and had to go through the not liking it anymore phase to really get back to enjoying it again, right?
Yeah. And yeah, I find you get to a point where you have to really reevaluate like what is the most, what are the important things in your life, and is that that where's the balance, and if your work balance is just taking over everything else,
Yeah,
then that's where
exactly.
you make the tough decisions, like going back to a full-time job, or yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't know.
exactly. No, I mean, and that's how it is, right? You know, but I think once, well, just my thought, once you kind of figure out that balance between, um, how to manage the projects, also, the pricing ranges and things like that. All this matters, and
Yeah,
to actually prevent the burnout from happening. And so, but once you get the right mix of things, the things kind of seems to move a little bit better once everything kind of is everything feels aligned and feels like it's flowing well.
so now that you have a better balance, what do you do on your off time? What's your like recharging, I don't
My
know,
reach,
hobbies?
my actual recharging hobby, because it takes up too much of my time. So actually, just watching basketball. When I watch basketball, I have to watch Raptors. I have to watch all the games for some reason, even when they're losing. So like
Yeah.
I do that, and I have two daughters, and my family, like they my family always have something to do, and we have to kind of set those kind of priorities to do things. And
Yeah.
yeah, but other than that, it's basketball that takes up my other time, the rest of my time. And when they're winning, it's great. When they're losing,
Yeah.
it takes up most of my time.
Yeah,
But yeah,
they had some great years.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't follow sports as much, but sometimes I get the highlights from my partner. um, well, okay, there's still 10 minutes, but I don't know if anyone wants to ask any questions, or if we have time for just. I was going to talk to you a little bit about your move when you were 12. Your move to Canada, and because it's kind of a tricky age to move,
Yeah, yeah.
and you were mentioning in your blog that's a little bit of like one thing that helped was getting into computers.
Yeah, yeah. I was to mention that at the start. It's yeah, it was a tricky age, because that's the age you're kind of just kind of connecting with your friends and kind of trying to figure out what it is that you want to do and focus on in a sense. And as I mentioned earlier, that was where I was kind of getting more into wanting to learn about computers. And when my parents bought a computer for us, and we were like trying to figure out, me personally was trying to figure out how it works, how it functions, just trying to figure out everything about it.
Mm,
And then I had to come to Canada, and then it's like a culture shock of sorts, because it's completely different. It's cold,
mm,
because Jamaica it's nice and warm. It comes to Canada, it's cold, and just trying to kind of figure out where you are and how to do things and how to get connected to, the environment, and what to do, what not to do, all these different things, right? In like junior high. Um, but but yeah, I always kind of had that thing in the back of my head with computers, even in that move, and just wanted to stick with that. And everything I kind of did from that point was to kind of be into that space, and just computers and programming, and to learn more about it. So that kind of thing, I guess, sort of kept me sort of focused and grounded, even when everything else might be going crazy, I guess,
yeah, it's nice
going
that you
crazy
had that
around.
continuity.
Yeah, so I just kept on focusing on that, and kind of it became the thing that I kind of gravitated to, and so it was pretty good in that
Yeah.
respect.
I remember when I moved, because I was around the Mediterranean for 20 years, and then I moved here, and then 2 months later there was this massive snowstorm. You could see a thing, and I was I was in shock.
Yeah, yeah, it is a crazy shock when you get in those first
Yeah,
snowstorms and you're like, it's just freezing. But yeah, but over the
um,
years, you get used to it, so it's all good.
oh yeah, so
Here's
yes,
a here's a sports reference that Dale is saying. Thanks for sending DeMar DeRozan to the Bulls a few years ago, Raptors. For people who understand what that means.
Yeah, DeMar. Yes, we all love DeMar, but yeah, but we won the championship with Kawhi, so it's all good.
Yeah.
So, do you
So
have any questions, Penny?
I actually have one. So you're working now on a freelance basis and you're building your company, but have you ever considered whether you might take that project management experience and your work in Webflow and go to an agency that needs a project manager? Because I can see where, that kind of role is going to become more important in the next few years as Webflow gets, is used more.
Yeah.
Is that something you would do?
Um, Maybe I'm not thinking that far in advance, but I usually just kind of take it day by day and go with my energy. And right now things are going pretty good, so I just take it day by day. But I don't like rule out anything. It's definitely a possibility. I do have the experience, working with the different design agencies and being a project manager for different for these different type of projects. So it's all possible. But yeah, I don't think I've given that any thought, that idea specifically, but it's possible. Right. It's possible. Yeah.
Cool.
I have a question about because you have the development background. And so when we're talking about like doing things in the no code or low code way, is there kind of gaps in the understanding jumping to that, or that you kind of notice that some people might have a hard time because they don't come from the development background getting into like the development of low code or no code? Is there things that you find people might I guess either trip up on, or any tips?
No, for sure. I think some of the things like from just building out front end interfaces, CSS is a big part of that, right? And even in like Webflow and all the no code environments, CSS is kind of like the big one in terms of being able to make these kind of unique interfaces. So when you're in the dev space and you're doing it by hand, you have to know exactly how it's working, because you're doing it all hand coded. But now they kind of, like in Webflow and some of these other ones, they're trying to help you out in kind of making it easier for you to do it. But if you don't truly understand how it's actually working, it might actually be, it might hinder you a little bit in terms of what you can actually build and how you can, and the customization of the interface. It might kind of trip you up a little bit. But if you kind of go back and do a little bit of research on the CSS and how to do selectors and the different ways you can use it, it would probably help a lot in terms of being able to understand like the no code environments and just building out an interface a little bit better. And from the back end perspective as well, like from like just a CMS kind of perspective, if you kind of have a general understanding of just how the databases work, it helps you to kind of understand, because some of the other platforms, they kind of already build out the if you're using a blog or something, they'll just build it out for you, right? But in Webflow, you have to kind of connect it yourself, and which is good that you can actually customize it how you want it, and kind of make it more custom to your experience that you want to give your clients. So but if you are not really familiar with how these things are connected and how it's going to display things and things like that, it might be a hindrance. But I mean, but one of the things is that Webflow does give great tutorials on how to kind of do things, but you can also go and kind of figure out like how that, you know, these different databases work and how they'll show information on the page, and how to kind of customize things that way could probably help a lot.
Do you use any other backends, or are you using mostly the Webflow CMS?
Mostly Webflow CMS. You know, it works right now. Of course, you know, if you want to do any more sophisticated things, you can connect to you know, like other backends. But for now, it's really just kind of building out things with the CMS, the Webflow CMS. And then kind of using things like JetBoost or FinSuite or things to kind of make it more dynamic. But yeah, primarily Webflow.
Well, we're almost at the end, but yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
We talked a bit about the accounts, and I think we kind of touched on like the LMS, the learning management system, like a Teachable or something like that. What kind of, I guess, is the limitations in the way the accounts work, or is it the logic, or like, because I know or I guess maybe the better way of asking this is because I know that Webflow is still planning on at some point probably looking at accounts and logic and stuff like that. Are there any things that you would like to see that would like make things better in either of those?
Oh yeah. You know, if it, you know, I think I see a lot of other people asking for it too as well. Like accounts, if we were able to, you know, create a unique property for like each person or each client, right? So because right now you can't actually modify the database for the accounts. They just give you like, you know, the user information and that's it. But if you could actually connect into the user accounts table or CMS and populate it with all sorts of data to make it unique to that client, and then you know, make that experience on the front end unique to that person, you know, that would be great. They haven't done that yet, but it would be great if they did that, so you could actually manage the user account and make it more customizable, you know. But yeah, but that's one of the things that would be great to kind of make it a better experience on the front end.
All right, that was my last question, Maggie.
Yeah, no, I'm glad that we got a few questions at the end there. It was just how do I throw a picture? Does it just present, Jeremy? I just wanted to end on like, is it present? How do you?
It's in brand.
Slides? You have no slides from your computer?
I don't know.
I don't know what Maggie's doing. I'm not doing it. How did you throw an image on earlier? How do you do that?
Oh, it's in brand.
Oh, it's in brand. Okay. Sorry, I just wanted to add on this. Oh, I see. Oh, you have it there. Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to ask you where your pictures, like the photos on your website are really good. I just wanted to know where you took them, like these ones.
Oh, those. Actually, I have to actually thank my wife for that. Yeah, my wife is a photographer, so she does all my photos actually.
Oh, they're really good.
Yeah, she does all my photos. So you know, I'm glad to have someone who can get me these amazing photos so you look like I'm somebody out there. So no, but yeah, she's the one to thank for that.
Where were they taken before we go? Because almost yeah.
What's that? Oh, the location.
That's not in Ontario, is it?
That's in Ajax. That's
oh my God!
No, it's just Ajax. It's close to my house.
Wow, it looks Ajax looks pretty exotic. You're like good to make Ajax look like a destination.
She's an amazing brand photographer, so she knows how to make me look good. She knows how to make people look good. So
Wow.
that's really what it is, because otherwise I would look terrible in these shots. But she does a good job. So yeah.
It's great to have somebody like that. Does she work with you if you need photography for clients?
Definitely, and I also, she has also a great eye for just brand and just kind of visuals in general. So she's great to just say, okay, how does this look? Does this kind of work? And and kind of use her as that sounding board for any kind of visual experiences. So it's pretty good.
Great.
Well, that's really handy. Well, thank you. Unless there's more question, I think maybe we'll wrap it up. But yeah, thank you so much for being here at our Northern Showcase podcast. And Andre, how can people find you online?
Yeah, so I really appreciate you inviting me, and this is a great experience. I haven't done too many of them, so I'm sure I can see the nerves there, but I really appreciate it, and I really had a good time. Yeah, you can find me on my website, juneplum.ca. You put up my Instagram there at andre.ford_. And also, I'm on LinkedIn. If you search June Plum Creative on LinkedIn or Andre Ford on LinkedIn, I'm there as well. So those are the main places that I can be found.
Great, excellent. Well, it's great to get to know you better.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, so that brings us to the end of our 11th Northern Showcase. We'd like to thank you all for joining us and remind you to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and watch for our next Northern Showcase on December 1st. And join us for our upcoming masked workshop next week with Corey Moen, and keep an eye out for an upcoming annual Christmas party in December.
And visit our website at nocodenorth.com. Sign up for our mailing list to receive all the latest updates. We're very close to releasing a new events page that will make it even easier to track our upcoming interviews and workshops. Follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. And join us on Fridays in the lodge in our cool gather space. Our lodge hangouts are open to everyone. And until next time, bye everyone.
Bye.
Take care.